put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, welcome back this morning. We are chatting with Melissa Agbeko-Walker. She's a food technologist attached to the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, and Sustainable Development. And this morning, viewers, our focus is on 9 simple secrets to optimal gut health. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, listeners. And thank you all so much for having me this morning.
It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Now, I want to start things off this morning asking the question. We talk about gut health, but what is gut health?
Okay. So basically, gut health it's basically the maintenance of the delicate ecosystem which resides within all of us. And we all have this ecosystem of microorganisms which are vibrant and lively inside of us. They actually make up more, they actually comprise, in numbers, they're actually more than the human cells in our body. And the gut is more than just our stomach. It's actually the entire gastrointestinal tract. That's from the mouth to the anus, and that's 30 feet long. And it comprises of all of those things, all the organs involved and all the microorganisms which make up this ecosystem. And this ecosystem is something called the microbiome. And the microbiome is involved in breaking down food, it's involved in making nutrients, so it's a big deal. So gut health really does matter.
What are some of the issues that can arise from poor gut health?
So if we aren't careful, we can have certain issues like SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You can have candida, you can have gastrointestinal reflux disease, and let me just expand. So with candida is an overgrowth of yeast.
Right.
So when you have an overgrowth of yeast in your body, that means that something in the gut is off. Remember, we have this ecosystem which resides in all of us, and it is able to be balanced. It's balanced most of the time. But if you have something upsetting that balance, then you can have something opportunistic like candida overgrowing. And that is where you hear people getting yeast infections, people having scalp issues. This is what happens when you have an upset
Scalp issues.
Scalp issues.
As a result of gut
health. Correct. The gut, it influences everything. It influences everything. So some of the scalp issues that you would see coming up are some things like seborrheic dermatitis. You have psoriasis. So when people are having those issues, many people always look for probably a quick fix. You'll use a shampoo or you use some sort of topical solution to try to address the issue. However, it really is an issue which stems from the gut. So what we really should be doing is actually looking at a person's diet, looking at their lifestyle, looking at what types of foods they ingest that would cause this ecosystem to be imbalanced, basically.
I don't think they ever peg it back to the gut.
No, not necessarily. What we always look at is, as I said, a quick fix, or looking to see what is happening on the outside. But everything happening on the outside is actually a result of what is happening on the inside. So it's always better to use a microscope and see what is happening on the inside. Is my diet well? What am I consuming? Am I eating too many things which are sugary, for example? If we think of yeast, candida is a yeast. If we think of, for example, baking bread. When we're baking bread, we actually use sugar to help feed the yeast.
Yes.
So if we are consuming too many sugary foods or too many foods which break down into sugar in the body, then what is going to happen is that it's going to feed these opportunistic pathogens which cause the gut microbiome to be imbalanced. And then we have these issues like seborrheic dermatitis occurring, and then we have candida occurring. We have all those issues occurring if we aren't looking carefully at our gut health.
Right. We hear sometimes about acids and alkalines.
Right.
Which is better for our bodies and why?
So we want to go more on the alkaline side of things. So with your fruits and vegetables, which foods which are not highly processed. So you want to look at foods which are from nature. So your provisions, you look at your fruits, your vegetables, foods that you cook at home, things that you can control. What happens is that things that are shelf stable, they have so many chemicals in them that can upset the balance of things. And those foods tend to be on the more acid side. So if we're able to eat more from nature, then we will be able to balance things a bit better. And I must say also that the gut, it's a big deal. It's like our second brain. It actually has more neurons than the brain and the spinal cord put together. And it influences every organ in the body. It also is the gatekeeper for things, the gatekeeper. So the gatekeeper, it actually allows certain things in, and it prevents certain toxins from coming into the body. So it really is a huge deal when we think about gut health.
All right, so tell us now, what are 3 ways that one can improve their gut health starting today? If we want to make that difference from today, 3 things we can do.
So 3 simple things. So incorporating fermented foods. I don't know if people are familiar with fermented foods, but fermented foods basically are foods which have been altered in some way with just very, very simple ingredients to call, and with some microorganisms added, for example, yogurt, and the microorganisms which are present in the foods, they're able to make certain byproducts which are beneficial for us. So by incorporating fermented foods like yogurt, like sauerkraut, like fermented vegetables, I would say another one that we...
Fermented
vegetables.
What are we talking about when we talk about fermented vegetables?
So sauerkraut is a fermented vegetable. So sauerkraut is basically comprised of cabbage and carrots, which are fermented. So basically you would add some salt to the raw cabbage and the carrots, and then you will massage it, produce some liquid, and then you cover it so that the beneficial microorganisms which are present, they can actually proliferate in that environment. And when you consume that food, it actually is beneficial for your gut because it makes byproducts, it makes different acids which are beneficial for your gut. Those sorts of things that are produced by these fermented foods. And being part Ghanaian, there's a food called banku, which is made in Ghana, and it's basically fermented cornmeal. If you listen to the word banku, it sort of sounds like cuckoo, and it's basically that. But it's fermented cornmeal and fermented cassava that is actually fermented for a few days. All you need is some water. The cornmeal, you mix it, a slurry, a loose slurry like to the consistency of sand, wet sand. You mix it and you cover it and you leave it for a few days and it starts to ferment. Then you cook that. So it's actually a pre-digested food. So fermentation sort of pre-digests your food. So
making it easier
to digest. Correct. So when you eat banku, and banku is consumed on a very regular basis in Ghana, and in many other cultures around the world, you'll find that they have some sort of fermented food that they incorporate into their diet. What happens is that when we don't incorporate these things into our diets are very monotone, monocolored. And what happens is that you don't get a nice variety of things, a nice variety of microorganisms to diversify your microorganismal gut portfolio. So by eating a variety of these fermented foods or incorporating those fermented foods, I would caution though, you start slowly because they do produce some gas. Start slowly. When you incorporate these things, then you're able to diversify your gut microbiome and that portfolio. So that's just one thing. Another thing you can do is, you can add probiotics. So we all know about probiotics, adding a probiotic to your food. So there are different capsules that can be used, and even these fermented foods are probiotic in nature. So what is happening is that you have the fermented food, which is has probiotics in it, and the soluble fiber in the fermented food, it acts as a prebiotic, which feeds the probiotics. So then you have something nice happening. When you are able to consume them, you keep your gut microflora healthy by including probiotics into the food.
Okay.
Yes. And one more thing that you can do actually is to just slow down and be mindful when you're eating. Many times when we're eating in a rushed state, we're eating while multitasking, doing something else, and we are not focusing on what we're doing. So by the time we finished a plate of food, it doesn't register that we are full because we have not focused on consuming that meal and eating mindfully. And what I mean by eating mindfully is chewing every bite, chewing, masticating, that's what it's called, mastication. You chew, and then you swallow so that you don't give the digestive system any additional work. We don't have teeth in our stomachs. We have teeth in our mouths, and they're there for a reason. They're there to chew the food thoroughly so that the digestion goes smoothly. Many of us just cut and swallow, and that does us no good. So
because we're busy, we're on the go.
Definitely. So take time. Just 10 minutes if you need 10 minutes. Sit down without distractions and sit and eat and consume that meal so that it's digested properly.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Ms. Agbeko, thank you so much for chatting with us this morning. I think this was some definite food for thought. But you mentioned the fact that you are from Ghana. You have Ghanaian, but you're part Ghanaian. And one of the things I've realized as a Caribbean people, we love to gravitate towards the African and the Ghanaian heritage. But a lot of the good stuff we're not holding on to. Or eating habits. Certainly, if we were to return to those roots, I think we'll be a healthier people.
Definitely. And return to the ancestral way of eating. And then we can correct many of the issues that we see happening where, for example, non-communicable diseases are concerned. We could alleviate a lot of those issues by returning to the way our ancestors used to eat.
Thank you so much. How can persons contact you?
You can contact me at 728-1181. I am at the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development, and I'm a part of the marketing department. I'm the food technologist there. So if you happen to pass by and you need to contact me, you can contact me there. And then our help desk, you can also contact the help desk at 639-1966 extension 3550 or 3554. And you can speak to someone there who will be able to guide you better.
And this is also happening coming up on Wednesday, yes?
That's correct. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. we'll be having this for staff, and probably we think of maybe having it for the public, the wider public, because a lot of people are interested in gut health and are not aware of how gut health impacts them. So definitely.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think this is a must attend for a lot of us, okay, to correct some of the ills. Thank you again for being on the program with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Rhea.
A pleasure.
Thank you.
Viewers, we're going to leave it there for today. We want to thank you so much for joining us. We've got GMT coming up, and Candace has got some really interesting guests coming up on the program this morning. So even as we wrap up and we say goodbye to you and have a great day, we're going to head over to Tobago Notes. So see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody.